7:00 p.m. So roll call. Ms. Mackler?
Here.
Ms. Litz?
Here.
Mr. Huskins? Here. Myself, Mr. Alger, I'm here. We have one vacancy. Also in attendance, we have a full gallery. That will be the So first order of business is approval minutes from the July 11th meeting. I believe we already approved those at our last meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's we can move off the agenda. We have nothing on old business. So the new business would be the variance on South Main Street at the old, I guess it's the old Dollar General location. Everyone here on the board read through the application, I hope?
Yes.
Mr. Schroeder, is he representing that or who's representing?
I'm the tenant. I'm not
Okay.
representing the landlord.
You're the tenant.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be
Yeah,
an architect here tonight, but
that's okay.
it just be me.
You want to just come up and
Yeah, of course.
speak and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, Nate Schisler. I live at 5110 Stringtown. I live the tenant at 51 South Main.
Excuse me one second, Matt, is that mic on? I can't tell. I'm sorry.
No worries. It more looks like it's on.
Thank you.
Nate Schisler, 5110 Stringtown Road. I'm the tenant at 951 South Main. The reason for the variance request, we run basically what could be best described as a certified refurbishing program for retailers throughout the U.S. We have a large facility in Canal Winchester. Basically what that means, the easiest way to share with you what we do. Everyone's familiar with Yeti coolers, the $100 tumblers and the $600 coolers. What you may not know is that if you go to Yeti's website, there's actually a section where you can buy used coolers that have been refurbished by my company and sold through Yeti.com. And we do that for about a dozen retailers today. We recently signed a contract with JD Sports, which is the parent company of Finish Line, so the largest sneaker retailer in North America. And quite frankly, our business is growing quite rapidly, and we needed some flex space to provide storage for our operation in Canal. I think there was unfortunately, there's no one here to speak on behalf of the landlord, Coca Development, but I think there was some misunderstanding from their perspective as to what permitted uses were for the space. We signed a lease with them and then started the process of converting over utilities. And then I think I caught Matt on his first day in office. We realized there was an issue with the accepted use. So our ask is basically to be able to use the facility as a warehouse. In terms of things that might be of interest to the board, there's not going to be significant truck traffic. There's not a loading dock at that building. So basically our main operation, Canal Winchester, stays intact, and we're just going to use a small truck to shuttle product back and forth between buildings.
How many people will employ?
6, maybe.
Have you hired them yet?
Oh, yeah.
So are any of them from Baltimore?
No.
Yeah.
At this point, we've transferred folks from our Canal Winchester operation. I expected that would be a question. And of course, at some point, those folks are going to say, I signed up to work in Canal. I'd like to stay in Canal. And so as the business grows, we, of course, would prefer to hire people who want to be in Baltimore.
I guess a couple of things. I'd like to see somehow a tent or something from the windows. And the only reason that we had an issue with it is because obviously that landlord said no problem.
Yeah.
And we started getting calls saying, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And and there's a permit you have to have events in this town, and nobody, just kind of got to. I'd rather have something in that building than not in that building, as I think we all would.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the main thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the dollar store used to do a fairly decent job of keeping behind that, tidied up, no skids.
Yep.
No not stuff around there. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, and that's how we operate. We've got for what it's worth, would love to have you guys up to our big building up in Canal and see what we do if that's of interest. but we run a pretty tight ship up there. So, yeah, in terms of the windows, like Matt and I chatted about that. That's definitely on our radar, mostly from a security standpoint.
Yeah, for your sake.
Yeah, we're gonna frost the windows. Well, to be clear, we intend to frost the windows and put up a security cage across that lobby area. We've already reactivated the security system and all of the things to kind of occupy the building. So I'm just kind of waiting on the outcome of tonight to really.
That would be something you'd want to get with our police chief, just to let him know what your situation is with your security and stuff there too, because he's an intricate part of all that.
Yeah, our new lead in that building has already set the alarm off. So I think they know who we are at this point.
Okay. That's all I have.
Well, you know, I guess I'm really interested in hearing what your presentation will be, because I have very mixed feelings about it.
Okay.
You know, the building isn't laid out well, sir.
Sure.
But to get access to the other storefronts, they're going to buy that property.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hate to see that just be a blank building.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to see a storefront in there.
Yeah.
Honestly. Even if you are open one day a month. You know what I'm saying? Just just because it helps promote the other storefronts, even though they've been vacant for a while.
Yeah.
I'd love to see something with it.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid that this being just a warehouse application does not promote somebody opening a diner or a clothing store or whatever in the other two locations. Yeah. I would like to see it just a little more shopper friendly.
Sure.
I'm not saying you need to be able to come into.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest concern.
Yeah. I think, and like totally hear you on that front. I think as I'm not a commercial planning and development expert, but I would imagine it's going to be difficult to fill a space that size if you're not Dollar General. I think in the absence of someone like us who's using it for a non-traditional or wants to use it for a non-traditional purpose, I think it's probably going to continue to be vacant. In terms of offering retail, that's something that was communicated back to myself through, I think maybe Matt had suggested that during a conversation with the landlord. That's something I'd really not like to do. It's not really what our business is. We're not in the retail business. It's not a retail friendly environment. And the reason I say that is because when you think about how a typical store, a shoe store would store product, is organized by size and style, right? So you can go and find the style, pick the size you want. And we don't store product that way. We store product for 20 different brands, and it's kind of randomly sorted through the building. I think, and this may or may not be of interest to the village, but what if we were to offer like, because everything in that store is for sale, just not in a retail exchange, right? I'm not the merchant, I'm just the service provider. So like, I don't collect payment. If you wanted to buy something out of there, you'd have to go on to the website of the company selling it and buy it from them. I think the thing we could do would be to offer free shipping and pickup to Baltimore residents. I don't know if that is a little closer to that like retail thing that you're after, but to allow people to come in and like peruse the store like a retail environment is
right.
It's not
well, and I don't want to tell you how to do your business.
Yeah, I don't think you are.
But if you had, and this is just my thoughts, okay? You just had a shallow space you might go in. And again, if you work one day a month, but had at least a community friendly look to it.
Yeah.
If that building were set back further, I would have no problem. I would shake your hand and say, welcome to the community. Okay? Being's right, it's right there on the state route. Yeah. And there's 2 storefronts beyond that. I'm just a little concerned that they're going to always be vacant. Mm-hmm. If we allow just strictly a warehouse, to be the path there, I guess. Yeah. But that's just my opinion, and I'm open to the rest of the board. I like the Wells' opinion as well.
Are you using the entire all 3 spaces?
Oh, I'm sorry, I answered too fast. Just the Dollar General.
Just the Dollar General. If I may, I'd like that you you mentioned, possibly offering free shipping.
Yeah, like a
pickup,
buy online, pick up in store.
because that would be more than just having a distribution shop. The one thing that you said that I was like, oh, it was cringe on was the, what did you say you were gonna do with the windows? Frost. Is there any way you could put blinds? Just at least so it's more aesthetically pleasing rather than frost. Maybe to even give it that facade, more of a shop front versus frosted windows and bars.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't see.
I know, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, that would not.
In the spirit of being open for business, if blinds gets our variance approved. Then
I mean, I'm just saying it would be better than frosted windows.
Yeah.
I'm just giving my 2 cents, and I like the idea of you being open to free shipping and pickup, because then that means you technically would have a store front.
Yeah.
It would just be a little bit different.
You kind of have to squint your eyes
in
and turn your
terms
head,
of
but
operation.
like
I mean,
retail, you can pick it up there.
so, well, and many people, I'd say most people are buying online now. That's kind of where things are. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Oh, you have anything?
No, I don't have any questions.
Ms. Lee?
No, I agree. I mean, just, if they can pick up there, then. But most people are buying online now. They're not going to the stores anymore.
And I don't think you'd have that much traffic anyways if you did that.
Yeah.
Is that going to throw a monkey wrench into your?
Less of a monkey wrench than
saying no,
terminating our lease and suing our landlord.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not here, but like, that's kind of the reality, right? If this isn't approved, I don't know if we get.
You are already operating in the building.
We're just setting up at this point. We've not, the client that we serve is JD Sports. That program's not live yet, so probably next week. Obviously, we've got some stuff to do with the city inspections. And
will you have branding out front, signage for the business?
yeah, just on the door.
Okay, because I mean, again, people are going to see that.
Yeah,
they're going to go on their phone immediately. What is that?
Oh yeah, Facebook is already
Buzzing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the calls that we got in our office when things started happening, and nobody knew what was going on. So, what do we get from here, Mr. Mulder?
Well, I guess it's somewhat of technicality. I personally got here blinds. I mean, it even looks just like an office.
Yeah.
In my mind, that is far better than just a warehouse.
Sure.
And again, if that were the end property, where you don't have to go past to get together with the other retail, it would be an issue. But if it looks like an office, your blinds, I'm good with that.
What about you, Mr.
Right now it's empty, isn't it?
It's empty for about 2 years.
Now, the technicality here would be just the fact the owners would be the one that apply.
I believe they are. I didn't fill out a.
Where is on the application?
I'm not on the application.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say, like, this conversation notwithstanding around the buy online, pick up in the store stuff, I think what I don't want to do is I don't want to weasel my way into a medium retail classification.
No, and you're not.
And then
we understand where you're coming.
So Mr. Schroeder is actually the owner of the property then?
Coca Development, I believe Mr. Schroeder is the architect representing the owner.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys might. You might
not.
not.
I don't know if that's not technicality cause a problem.
No, I mean, I feel like we can vote on it. Or you guys can vote on it.
They don't have to be at the meeting for us to vote on this.
Nate's
Nate's just representing himself as the tenant.
Right, I just want to make sure that we're not property as far as the owner. Although if it's a corporation, then that would.
Yeah, it's Coca Development Ltd. They own they actually own a bunch of Dollar Generals. That's kind of their thing. They build spec buildings for Dollar General.
Any other discussion on this?
Well, in terms of the things that we're supposed to consider, it doesn't seem like we're in danger. It's not going to alter the neighborhoods substantially.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of answering all of them.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Always get such a good application.
Well, are we prepared to vote? Well, I guess we need a motion to approve the variance or deny it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Huskins, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Fackler. So we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Fackler,
Aye.
Ms. Litz, Mr. Huskins,
Yes.
myself, yes. So it's approved unanimously. Mr. Niehiser will have paperwork for you, I'm guessing, first week.
I can send paperwork tomorrow.
Just stay in contact with them. And let's just, if we can do, we swap what's best for the building.
Yeah, for
I mean, it's obviously not having an empty building.
Yeah.
So,
And we'll, I don't know, not if I coordinate this with you or not, but our client will want to issue a press release, and there's a
yeah, no,
you know, a little bit of
that's all good. Yes. of course.
innovative business coming to Baltimore.
Yes, we want that too.
Okay, we didn't quite handle that right, but in that motion that we are going to require blinds or something, at least look, you know, consumer friendly, okay?
It's on the record. You don't,
Okay.
you don't have to tell me twice.
Like,
So as long as we're on the same page.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Easy.
That's that. Just keep Matt call tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
That is all I have on the agenda. Anybody else have anything else to discuss for BZA? Okay, well, the next meeting would be October 10th, if we have it on the agenda for BZA. So, if not, it'll be postponed until this is agenda. So I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Huskins,
Second.
Ms. Litz, all in favor, say aye. Aye. 7:17 adjourned. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move right on into planning and zoning. Okay, so we'll call the planning and zoning commission meeting for the village of Baltimore, September 12th, 2024 at 7:18 p.m. Roll call, Mayor Ellis.
Present.
Mr. Curry,
present.
Ms. Factor,
Here.
Ms. Litz.
Here.
Auger, I'm here. Okay, so we have a full commission. Also in attendance, we have a full gallery. Again, everybody's names will be on the list so they can be entered into the minutes. First order of business will be approval of minutes of our meeting from August 8th, which was also the public hearing. I hope everyone's already looked through it. Any discussion on the minutes? I was, I read them through and I thought it was pretty concise. So we have a motion to approve.
McCreary moves to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay. Second. Okay. Ms. Factor, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous approval. Okay, so old business will be the Liberty Ridge housing development on proposal. This has been an ongoing thing. Last month was the public hearing where we had quite a bit of information. I want to thank everyone for being there and sharing their thoughts. We're going to handle this today. This is going to be basically a short version of that. The intention is for the commission to vote on it for approval or denial. First off, I'm going to allow the developers to make their short presentation. And then I am going to allow anyone who wants to speak 4 minutes. This is not question and answer, but we all want to hear what you have to say. Then we'll go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for discussion. As I said earlier, we intend to move on tonight. So I turn this over to
Me and this guy can share out. Who would you like to keep on?
I'm sorry.
Who would you like?
They're gonna make the presentation, and then we'll, if there's any residents that want to come back.
If you can do that, Jake, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Robert's rules. Robert's rules, we're gonna be.
Yes, yes, sure.
We're on certain side.
11 places.
No, we're all good.
We're done.
Okay, good evening. My name is Molly Gwynn. My address is 2 Miranova Place, Suite 700. I am the attorney for the applicant. And we have quite a crew this evening, so I'll go ahead and briefly introduce everyone who is here. Jack Montino, the division president of D.R. Horton, is here. Dave Dozer, our division vice president of land development, is also here. Andrew Dyer, our land acquisitioner, as well as Tiffany Ramp and Andrew Mao, also land acquisitioners, are also present. Our engineers here, Jim Watkins with Verdantis to handle any technical questions. And then perhaps most importantly, we do have the seller of the property here in the front row this evening. This is Mr. Scott Thompson and his family, his 2 daughters, Courtney and Eva Thompson. So you all have heard from me a lot. We filed our initial rezoning application for this property in February. And prior to filing the rezoning application, we had approached the village about a very aggressive plan for upsizing sewer and water lines in order to provide service to the property. That proposal included a request for reimbursements for those lines through tap fee credits. And we were told that that was not going to work. And so at that point in time, we went back to the drawing board and we came in with a plan. This is the plan that got reviewed at the public hearing that had all 40-foot lots for this development for a total of 213 homes. We had a planning commission meeting where, as the chair noted, we heard a lot of feedback from the community about this project. We heard a lot about what matters to the community and what matters to this commission. And so based upon that, we went back to our drawing board and we reduced the unit count down to 203 homes. We've since had some meetings with some members of this commission, and we've also reviewed the information in our plan. And the plan that you see before you tonight has a substantial reduction in the number of units from the plan that was presented last month. And specifically, we are now down to 180 homes, the vast majority of which are going to be on 50-foot wide lots. 116 of the homes are going to be our 50-foot wide product. 64 of the lots will be the 40-foot wide. And if you look at the plan that's in the corner, kind of the gold color is the 50-foot and the 64 are the 40-foot. One of the things that I want to point out, because I know that this has come up, is for our 40-foot wide lots for those homes, we offer 6 different homes with 4 different front elevations. So a total of 24 kind of different looks for that 40-foot lot product. For the 50 foots, kind of a similar thing, but in fact, even more variation in what we're able to offer to the buyers. And we have 7 different homes with 4 different elevations for a total of 28 different offerings. So when we look at all of this together, we do have the ability to offer a total of 52 different looks for the homes in this community. We're going to be finishing all of the homes with high quality vinyl siding, design features, and various color offerings, including added trim and finishes. We have an example right there. You can see the stone water table. You can see the porch. You can see the decorative brackets at the roof peak. And this is very much indicative of the type of products that we're offering to our buyers. One of the concerns we heard is all your homes look the same. And so to that end, we're prepared to commit with this rezoning that we will not have any two homes that are the same elevation offered next to one another, nor the same color offered next to one another. We'll also enforce that with respect to homes across the street. And again, this is something that we understand, and we certainly don't want the community to all look the same. It's not great for that either. One of the things that I also want to note is that we've changed this plan. We've added these wider lots. We've heard your concerns. We have not changed the open space at all. We are still at a total of 43% open space, and that's over 25 acres of open space in this area. I'd like to just briefly talk a little bit about the values that we're bringing to Baltimore. We are assuming a blended price for these homes of about $380,000. The average sale price, resale price right now in Baltimore, based on data we've pulled, is about $220,000. So again, our values are going to be substantially in excess of the average values for the sale price for this particular community. The other thing that we're offering is a special tax increment program where members of this community only will pay 5 extra mills of property taxes. And if we assume a $380,000 value, we are looking at that new community authority generating about $3.5 million at full build out. That is not discounted from net present value, but we feel that's a very good estimate of how much will be running off of these homes. And that millage can be used for public infrastructure improvements to benefit the community. It's not reimbursing the developers for anything. It's not going back to the developers. It's not paying for our streets or our ponds or our roadway improvement costs. It's just an extra charge that these residents will be paying in this community. And so I want to also note a couple of other ads we had as we worked through this process. I know I've talked about these before. We did amenitize the path. The path to the south of the site is asphalt. It is kind of fully amenitized. You can push a stroller on it. We also, at the northeast corner of the site, we have a tot lot that we're offering. And a rendering of the tot lot is located on the plan in the bottom right-hand corner. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions from this board, as is the rest of our team. Yes,
I have a
absolutely.
few other things. Okay. There's an additional map that I wanted to just go ahead and pass out here. And if you don't mind, instead of passing that around. One of the misnomers with some development is that we're going to construct 180 homes and 180 lots within a 12-month period. And that's simply not true. That can't be done. So what I'm showing you here is a phasing map, particularly with regard to how it's going to impact traffic, additional residents within Baltimore, as well as the schools. So that first phase of lots, if we're fortunate enough to get this approved this evening, would be, right, as you can see, is 60 lots. If we were fortunate tonight, by the time we engineer, develop, and then start building the homes, the first residents would not appear until the summer of 27. So we're looking at, as far as the school goes, you're looking at the first students that show up likely is going to be 27, 28. And that's 60 students if everyone has one. Then from there, you have phase 2. Now you're looking at students showing up for the school year 28 and 29. And again, assuming one student, now we're another 48 students. And as you can see, it goes on from there, 30 to 31 and 31 to 32 before you have full build out. So that's a good way to look at just as the residents begin to show up, as well as when the students begin to show up, as well as when additional traffic shows up. So I just wanted to be clear on the phasing of the development as well. So thank you.
And as as far as the schools go, schools give a blessing. from the superintendent to the board. What we're talking about here is the superintendent is the phasing of this as well. So the diligence with the school as well.
Since the schools got brought up, I just want to note that a large part of school funding is property taxes. Currently, about 24% of the Liberty Union School District revenue is from property taxes. We are estimating that our development at full build out is going to generate about $470,000 annually of additional property taxes to cover our school impact. I want to note that if we look at the 5-year forecast that the Liberty Union School District files with the state of Ohio and is required to file with the state of Ohio, they are projecting by fiscal year 2028 that there will be a revenue shortfall of about $3.2 million. The district would need to cut expenses by 13.82% to balance the budget without additional revenue. Our development is going to bring additional property tax revenue that's going to help the school district. I'd also like to note, I know Jack is using the 1 multiplier for the district. We've been over this. We've talked about this. We believe that that is a very high multiplier and is not reflective of the amount of children that are going to be thrown out by this district. We are really looking more closely at probably about 0.27 students per household. We have about 2,700 total households in the district. Currently, about 744 of those have children enrolled with the school district. I think 0.27 is an appropriate multiplier. That's about 49 students. If you don't believe me on that multiplier, I can tell you that the fastest growing county in the country in 2019 uses an estimator of 0.8 students per household, and that's Delaware County and the Olentangy Local School District. Their most recent data, based on their household projections, they paid a company to reevaluate this in 2023. Even their yield numbers have gone down, and they estimate only 0.77 now out of each household. That's in a very aggressively growing district. We've all heard about the 5 high schools in Olentangy. So, you know, I obviously we don't want to, you know, we want to assume the assumptions that you're most comfortable with. But the reality is we're going to throw up a lot of additional revenue to the school district with this development, as well as, you know, NCA millage can be.
The schools, we're going to split that.
Right.
Some of that's going to go to schools too.
And, you know, NCA millage can absolutely be used for things like making up projected budget revenue shortfalls, and our development's certainly happy to do that. And our residents will pay that whether or not they have children in the schools. So.
Is that millage annual?
Yes, ma'am, it is annual. It's 5 extra mills per year.
With no
30 years? 30 years, yes.
Only on those houses.
Just these houses. And just to clarify, it's not a levy. I think there's maybe been a little bit of considerations. It's not a levy. It's a separate entity just for these residents. Yes. So I'm happy to take any questions from this board. I know we've had a lot of information. We've had a lot of meetings. We are here to seek a vote of approval, hopefully from this board this evening. We have made some changes from the plan. The community input has helped us make this plan better. The input from members of your planning staff and this board helped us make this plan better. And we're really hoping to earn the right to be members of your community.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as the units go, how many of those units, I know some of them are going to have basements in them, are there none of them? Okay, that's what I wanted to check on.
Nope.
Okay, couldn't remember on that. Okay.
15.
Oh, there is, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I thought there were a few.
You're finding, I apologize.
It's okay. I was paying attention.
Good.
I was paying attention.
Because of the topography and the land, the cuts.
Okay, good.
Okay, that's
That's
what
even
I thought.
better.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Because someone had asked about that at the previous meeting. So I just wanted to bring up the number of those units. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't hear that. You said that a certain percentage would have basements?
So the topography of the lot will require them to be built on basement instead of slab.
Oh, okay, okay. And I'm not a builder, So, question, slab still has a foundation, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Just a slab and walls built on.
No, you still must go down below the frost line, which I believe is now 32 inches, where you would establish your footers, come up with a stem wall or concrete, fill that area in with gravel. So yes, it's on a full foundation.
Thank you. Is there anything else that your company wants to present before we ask for comments from the public?
No, we go ahead and reserve additional time, if the board is amenable to that, to respond to comments from members of the public. We're happy to do that as well.
I think we can go along with that.
Yeah, as long as it's not too late. We're gonna keep the comments to 4 minutes.
Yep.
And nothing past 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yep,
you.
thank you.
I do not have the list. Grab that.
She was holding back on.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. So Mr. Alex, I'm sorry.
Same thing. I have different issues. They can finish up the
Okay, okay. Mr. Hookbrother?
It was with the last issue of the last development that was shown. This has been changed, but I want to do the presentation anyway. Although our room makes up a couple of changes. I've lived in Baltimore 81 years, been active in the village for many of those years, and I realized the need for the developments, new housing, new people, modern housing. We've been starved for that for quite a long time. The addition, a new addition, will bring financial help to both the village and our small businesses. It will also provide more modern housing that may keep some of our sons and daughters in the community to live in and support our community, because we've lost a lot of good people. There was no housing for them here. On September 1st, I visited two of D.R. Horton's developments. I was in Walnut Mill at Asheville and Longview Highlands at Pickerington. Both were nice developments with winding streets and seemed open and inviting, the kind of place that a person would buy into and raise a family there. I believe D.R. Horton can provide the quality of development that the village of Baltimore deserves. The quality of the development will hopefully attract families that will stay and be involved in our village. Baltimore has many assets. We've got a great fire department, well equipped. We've got a great police department, well equipped, well trained. We've got a very good school system. Those are all assets for you selling those homes. Because I want you to attract people like us that live here and have built the community for what it is. Because as small as we are, we have so many assets. We have a large park system with all of the assets, most of them built and managed by volunteers. So we would love to get some people involved and volunteering with us.
Sir, you have 1 more minute.
We have Baltimore Festival, 5K run, festival parade, December lighting parade, downtown restoration committee, children's theater, soccer fields and baseball diamonds at Oak Park, swimming pool, softball diamonds at the Johnson Park, and the Baltimore Museum. There are many volunteers working with our children and our families to make Baltimore a place you would want to live. To get to my point, we know that the quality of the development will attract the quality of the buyer. For the development as designed, which was the old development, was not attractive. When you pulled into it, you saw 6 long lines of buildings 10 feet apart. It looked more like temporary housing.
So your
Can I
time is
have
up.
just one-
That's up to,
Can I have one more minute?
yeah.
Are we good with that? Okay.
Okay. To the
Sorry.
development, to the development, I know you can design and build a development that will be an asset to Baltimore. To the planning committee, I know your decision's not easy. The one, when you go to vote on this first development that we're getting, just think, you will be shaping Baltimore's future. So is this something you would want to move to and live in? Take that into consideration.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Curtis Stanton.
Curtis Fan, 554 North Basel, right next door to the development. Just wanted to ask, is any of this zone for rental or purchase to rent? It is not.
Right, it currently is zoned R3 residential.
So we're not gonna have a bunch of rental houses there, right, Jack? Okay.
Well, let me clarify. We are not promoting rent. If one of our residents decides at some point after, we're promoting owner occupied units and we're selling owner occupied. If they decide to rent it at some point in time to their son or daughter, yes. Yes.
The concern is the rental around the nation actually doesn't seem to be going too well here, especially these days. So, but if that's the case, then I can't imagine. Well, hopefully we'll be rented out to just
A big rent at $375,000. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy Sandy.
Tracy Stanton, 554 North Fossil Street. So this right here is my land. We have 15 acres. Right next, we're the ones right next door to you guys. So one of my concerns is our fence line, trees are on our side. What are we gonna end up with? What are we gonna end up with the trees? Living out here in the country, tree limbs fall on either side. As country people don't make a big deal about it. If my neighbor's tree limb falls on my side, I'm picking it up. If there's falls, So that's one of my concerns. How much trouble am I gonna have? I got 15 acres. I'm right here. Of course, I'm sure you can't answer that. It's gonna matter. I'm gonna run into that later. I hope to not be here later, honestly, to tell you the truth, but,
Well, there is not a policy to go to Baltimore. I said no question answered, but I'm still going to try to answer this anyhow. The way I understand it, and don't quote me on this, but I believe Ohio law says, if your tree goes over the neighbor's property, they can trim what's over their property. Okay. Now they can't touch the tree on your property. That's the way I understand it. But I cannot guarantee that's true.
And I'm fine
That is
with
my
that. I'm
understanding.
fine with that. I mean, if it's, I mean, because that's what we do now.
Yeah.
With my neighbors.
And I think there'll be enough space between your trees and that land that I think.
Okay. And now here's my other concern. And you guys have already heard this. I got two. But 32 years ago when we moved here, and some of you's already heard this. My dad wanted to build back here in the back. Just so you guys can understand why I'm upset. One building to park his carnival equipment. He was a carny. He was the biggest game operator in Ohio. He was fairly respected. And he was told before he bought the property by whoever was doing the zoning, I still can't remember that man's name. I wish I could. But he was told it was okay. And then, of course, after he bought the land, it was turned down. And all he was going to use that building for was to park his equipment in the winter quarters. And then he was going to pull it out. There were people there at the meeting. I believe you were the mayor at that time. And it was turned down because of the traffic that would be coming out of that one driveway that we have, the traffic. So,
Ma'am, you have 1 more minute.
So here we go, the traffic. I mean, he was turned down because they thought there was going to be a problem, even though they were told it was only going to be, our stuff would be pulled out in the spring. You know, and a lot of people thought, oh, you're going to come here and then you're going to move. And I can remember saying, no, we are planning to raise my family here. And I did. All three of my girls have been raised here. We've been here 32 years. My grandkids now go to this school. So, you know, I kept my word. My dad, he died. A very sad man. He got cancer 2 or 3 years later. And he was very disappointed in this town. But he would still wave to everybody that went by. I don't know why, but he did. Anyway, I'm getting a little emotional because it's my dad. So my problem is that one road, what's the inlets and outlets here?
And your 4 minutes is up.
Well, yeah, so you mean there's one entrance in and one entrance out, yes.
There is. Is that not insane? Is that not insane? My dad put one building in.
Well, here's the thing. I wasn't here 30 years ago.
I know you were not.
And none of these people were.
I know you were not, but
and
you
if
can
we
visualize.
were, I can't. If we were, maybe it ended up different.
I'm sure
and I am sorry.
Wonderful things about you.
And I'm sorry, and I feel bad about that. I want you to understand that. I don't take that lightly.
So we can go to full bar?
Well, if you wanted to build a full barn, I'd tell you to bring it and we'd see. Absolutely.
What I would do now is I would tell you I'm putting rabbits in it because it's agriculture where I'm at. I can't. But my dad didn't know that at the time. He wasn't smart enough to lie, basically.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah. And another question I'd like to know, is anybody on this board going to make any money from this eventually once these homes are here? Anybody going to make money
I can tell
from
you
it?
right now, I'll speak up. I have a business here in town.
You sure do. And what's on your business?
Well,
You told that man that he couldn't have frosting or whatever on his windows. What's on your windows?
Well, I'm getting to that, okay?
Okay.
Because when I purchased that boat,
Mhm.
before I purchased it,
Mhm.
I told him, said I would have a storefront. And quite honestly, I still intend to do it.
You intend to. Now, what if that man did what you did? How many years have you been there?
Well, and this is just let me finish here, okay? We have not finished not restoring, but I'm trying to think remodeling that building when we got thrown out of where I've been for 30 years.
Yes, I know. I remember you being there because I worked in the front of that building.
That's right. Yeah.
And I remember how they talked about how they wanted to get you. And I thought, how mean, because you are such a nice man. How mean that is. But then my mind is thinking, how can you tell that man about what to do with his windows when yours have been like that for years?
Oh, you're correct. I
Yes.
was actually thinking about that this evening when I was reading through this.
You should have been thinking about it a long time ago. Were you just thinking about those windows today?
Well, I just read through his variance application today.
So you just read that today. So all of a sudden, just today, that became important.
No, ma'am. I'm saying
These are two separate issues.
Yeah, this is on
I
top
was,
of
I
that.
was
We're
reading,
going off.
I was
Okay,
reading
we're
his-
going off topic because you don't want to hear what I've got to say.
No, I think you're being off topic. We're trying to talk about, absolutely want to hear your concerns. But so if it's going to get to your concerns, absolutely.
My concerns are the honesty.
I am not going to benefit from this. I'm a teacher
Okay, that's
in another
fine.
community.
Yeah, yeah.
I have absolutely the best interest of this community at heart.
Good, I'm glad you do.
So I have not talked to anybody about my opinion and what I plan to do and what I
can
think.
tell you that
Thank you,
nobody
I
on this
appreciate
board
that.
that makes decisions are paid. And as the mayor,
I don't think paid, but I mean, eventually.
I think anybody that owns a business in this small town will benefit from this 100%.
well, I can tell you right now, my business, I mean,
I don't think
there's
this would
nobody in
affect
this community that is one of my customers.
you.
I have a 2-year backlog for work, and I have a customer right now that's in North Carolina and one's in Texas.
But you don't have a storefront.
But what I'm saying is, I was answering your first question. You asked if I was going to get money. I am not going.
Okay, that's good.
And that's the honest
That's fine.
truth.
I just wanted to know. That was a simple question, but I was pretty perplexed when you said that to that man. So I need to know if I'm dealing with honest people, because when you tell somebody one thing and you're not doing the same thing, there's a problem. Now, I want to know why there's only one exit.
Since the way it's set up.
Just the way it's set up. So
They did a traffic study on that road.
they did a
Considered
traffic
this-
study.
yes, the county.
Now, let me tell you, let's see, how long ago was it, Rick, when we had a meeting here about the traffic coming up my road? Was that about 5 years ago? It was about 4 or 5 years ago. And there was a problem about the traffic coming up that they come over those railroad tracks and they floor it. I mean, all of a sudden.
Well, I can tell you, the other thing that will happen when this development's there, there'll be more of a police presence out there.
30 seconds left.
Okay, there'll be more of a police presence out there. I mean, a lot of things will change, obviously, with the police department, with having that many houses out there too. So,
I'll believe that when I see it, because that's gonna be a lot of cars coming out of there. One entrance and exit. That's insane.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nate Schister.
Oh, I thought my name was under their name.
Well, I'm sorry. Amanda, you didn't have yes circled, so I didn't call you. I'm sorry.
it's okay, go ahead.
You're right.
I put a question mark.
Oh, you're right. I didn't see a question. A little concerned.
I didn't know. I was like, okay. Last time I was a little bit more wound up. I'll stay calm this time. My name is Amanda Felix. I'm 558 North Basil Street. I just want to make some point because I know last time Rick and his son-in-law said they moved out of town, came back to town. I'm retired Air Force. I've left town. I came back to town. I've volunteered with First and Fire Department. I currently work with the DoD. I've deployed. So I've been around too. In my endeavors, I never thought that another thing Baltimore needs is a housing development. And the reason that I thought that is because, like my mom was saying, over the years, I've watched my grandpa and my parents kind of be not treated good when it comes to their land, whether it be the pole barn, whether it be the request for house, whether it be constant traffic control. So I guess with that said, we've been tax-paying citizens for years. We've not been behind on taxes. We have full taxes. We have integrity. We're good people. But even though we pay taxes, we don't have sidewalks. We don't have street lights. We don't have speed control. People fly over the hill. We've constantly asked for speed control. And I'm not trying to target Rick, but when he put in the ACE over there, they have speed signs. They have lights. Yeah, but that all got changed and pushed out. And with 158, it may not be as big a state route as that, but it is. We are blind pulling over our driveway. Gotten killed, and I've watched my father when I first started driving happen to chase boys that fly with their Mustangs and their trucks. And I mean, you can hear them go by here. Imagine them hitting that train tracks and just flooring it. They'll go by our driveway 70, and you can't see them. And I have my son pulling out of the driveway, my parents pulling out of the driveway. My mom, she's a tough little lady, but when she's in her car, she can't hardly see over that hill. And that's something that my dad and I worry about all the time. We've never had traffic control there ever. So I know you say it's going to change now, but it's just frustrating that for years we've asked for that, and it's kind of like we've been the black sheep of the community. Anytime we've asked for anything pertaining to our land, the road, and we are integral tax-paying people, military, retired, DOD, working for. So it's frustrating to be unheard unless we can put money in pockets, I guess, per se. As far as that goes, I'm curious as to how we're going to be protected, and because that is, you have houses all along our fence line. Right behind our fence line, you have a pump to pump their food to the city line. So like they were saying, the limbs falling from the fence line, how far are they off our fence line? How are we going to be protected? What about residents and kids and stuff coming to and from through our land? Even with no housing development there, it happens all the time, let alone with the housing development.
And you have 1 minute.
So I'm curious about that. I'm also curious what they're going to do with the slime that dumps in the creek back there. I mean, not that I care, because I'm not going to be walking down the creek back there anymore, but I mean, there's things that like that need fixed. Like my dad said about rent, homeowners, doesn't this housing development have an HOA? I saw a lot of lawsuits online pertaining to the HOA, but does the HOA allow for houses to be rented out? Is that like a thing?
Then you could write into the agreement that the homes would initially be owner occupied.
Well, because I just know nowadays is like the worst time for this, because you have a ton of immigrants getting $2,500 rental vouchers. So it's just, yeah, bad time. And as far as the 0.27 students per house, as opposed to 0.77 students per house, that's almost one student per house, as opposed to like almost one student for every 4 houses. So even though it seems small when she says it, it really is kind of
And your 4 minutes.
a big gap. And yeah, I guess I just encourage you to get online. And I'm not saying that they're a crappy developer or anything like that. I just encourage you to get online and look at recent lawsuits concerning the HOA and developmental concerns. My biggest concern is our land being protected somehow, because you're gonna have houses all along that fence line, and it's gonna come on my parents. And I've watched them and my grandfather deal with enough to just come supplicating to this land that we love and that we have worked hard to make a nice place, pay taxes, and be honest and faithful.
Well, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Sisler, I believe.
He spoke at the BZA.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Scott Thompson.
Yes. Scott Thompson, I purchased the land back in, I think it was 2005, I believe.
Okay.
So I live at 4334 Election House Road in Carroll, Ohio. So I've been in this area for 35 years. And originally when I purchased the land, it had already been platted and approved for development. It was called
77.
It was called Sleepy Hollow. That's right. And it had quite a few lots. It wasn't laid out nice. So I came back up just for a minute. I know I've only got 4 minutes here. Maybe I've got 5. But the back up just a little bit. There was a lot of people around here, business people and some different community members who would like to have a nice housing development. They knew that I was involved in housing development back then, and I still am to some degree. But so I came into Baltimore. The mayor welcomed me, the council, just everyone did, and it was great. We actually got it approved. We went through for a new design, not Sleepy Hollow. It's called Meadow Creek, a really nice development. And we did the off-site engineering, which was approved back then. And we're getting ready to go with it. And then came 2006. So if you remember what happened, for almost 6 to 7 to 8 years, it just got tabled, and it was just too expensive to do, with the housing being so negative. But everybody was really positive about it, and they always have been. I've actually had phone calls from different community members and business people said, we need a nice housing development. Like this gentleman over here, Mr. Yes, like he talked about, if you don't have a place, if you don't have a development, a nice housing area for your children, your grandchildren, they're not gonna stay here. You're not gonna, if you're not growing sometimes to some extent, this is small growth for, this whole area. If you're not growing, what are you doing? I mean, but to fast forward, I didn't want to it cost a lot more to develop this land now. I mean, probably 3 or 4 times as much with this offsite. And we wanted to find a good developer. I'm in the concrete business. I'm in the excavation business. And I've known Jack Montino. I've known Dave Dozer for about 25 years now. He and I were partners on another development, great development. And with the cost of this development now, it's just the offsites are over $1 million, plus the engineering, plus everything else. You need someone strong like this developer that wants to come in here and can get it done, because you don't want to get one phase done and they go bankrupt. And D.R. Horton's one of the strongest in the country. We work for them. We do a lot of concrete work for them, and from here in Louisville, Kentucky.
You have 1 to 2 minutes.
Thank you. And you've got a great builder here that has the wherewithal, that has the cash that will get this done. They're offering a nice house. They changed the development. They put a boulevard in the front, which is really nice. I mean, I'm very impressed. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing here. And I think that it's going to be great for the community. It's going to give people somewhere to get excited about. And it's going to help the businesses for sure. Because the gentleman that I talked to earlier with the Dollar General, you're worried about your storefronts, and you shouldn't have to be. If you bring some good developments in, over the next 10 or 15 years, then it'll help the businesses, it'll help the community grow, to bring taxes in. And I'm really surprised what you're offering up a lot for this development, because I've seen this in the development world. They're offering to pay for the offsite. Originally, Baltimore was going to pay the mayor and such, we talked. They were going to pay for reimburses for all that offsite work. And I think you guys had talked about that. And if I'm not correct, you're paying for the offsite, correct? And then the $3 million or so, I've never heard of that either. So, I mean, you guys are really, you're coming to the table with this community. So I'm very impressed. I'm sitting here. And I'm a 35-year, I've been in this area now, I want to have a good reputation. And so I just wanted to come in as the owner of the land and kind of give you a little history of what's happened with it over the last almost 20 years now. So if you remember when it was back at Sleepy Hollow, yeah. Yes. I thought it had like an Ichabod train cul-de-sac. Yeah. It was a terrible layout, but you know what? It's approved with the county. That could be built. It's actually approved. It's on our map.
It's not, if
it's there.
If it was done that way, then we wouldn't need to have this meeting.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I want to, I honestly, I know these guys, outside of this, great people, and this company, D.R. is a great company to work for, and, they can get things done. You don't find that too often, so you don't have to worry about them. They'll get this done and they'll do what they say. So that's all I have. Unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Okay, that is all I have on the list. So they can see unless there's someone else here who has changed their thoughts here. If not, Hortons, anybody else want to say anything else again before we have commission discussion?
Thank you so much. Appreciate everyone's comments. I'll just echo what Mr. Thompson said. This property is already zoned for houses. I think that's a point that's maybe not been well made. This is R3. There are more houses here than would be allowed under an R3, but honestly, not that much more. So it is residential right now. It could have homes right now. Theoretically, it's the offsites and the cost of that that's sort of stymied that. I would like to go ahead and just speak briefly to the Stanton's concerns. We certainly understand this. We understand that we are neighbors. We want to be good neighbors. We proposed a 3-rail split rail fence along the southern boundary of our property for you right here. We have that in some of our developments, including in Commercial Point, free rail, split rail. It does help, also agree to post no trespassing signs for you. That helps alleviate any of your concerns. And then finally, the law on trees in the state of Ohio is really well developed and it's fascinating and there's a lot of litigation around it. But the simple point is we cannot push down any trees on your property. The only clearing we can do is if you have property that we own or control. That's going to serve it very well. It's likely, so we have a very good understanding of what's ours and what's yours. We would only sell trees that are on our land, and generally, to the best of our abilities, preserve the trees that are located there because we like them. They offer a natural buffer. Our residents like them. They like to kind of back to those trees.
I do appreciate that there is a walkway there. I do. I do. Along the side and along the tree line. The back of our property. You just look there too.
No, it's too heavily treed there. So where we would want to put this fence is just along the rear of lots between lots 68 and 55. It's gonna depend on how deep are the lots, Jeff?
25.
How what? 120 setbacks, 25 in the front. The deepest house would be 60. I would say about 30 feet from the back of the house to the rear. Yeah, back of the house to the rear property line.
The rear property line is going to be right.
I don't know exactly where your property line is, but yes.
I just like the front side.
Just to speak to traffic, I just want to give a little bit more detail to this because I know we've talked about the work we did to have the traffic study reviewed. We completed a traffic study. It was submitted to the county on March 4th. Our study is reviewed by an engineer with the county. Deputy Fairfield County Engineer Eric McCready reviewed our study, and he accepted the findings of the study. And a couple of important findings from that study. They noted that Basel Road will see an increase in traffic volume compared to current levels. However, the overall volume will still be considered low. They also did an analysis for right and a left turn lane and found that based upon established guidelines, no right and left turn lane was warranted. So this has been reviewed not only by our engineers, this has been reviewed by the county, and the findings have been accepted by the county. That boulevard entrance is slightly wider. A boulevard entrance is A boulevard entrance is a traffic calming measure. Generally, it slows down the flow of traffic. It slows down the flow of cars. It's slightly wider. So, you know, we defer to the professionals on what's required for purposes of our traffic management. And they found that one entrance is appropriate at this area. So I think that was everything. I might be able to help you with the full learn if you want to talk about it. Just kidding. So, yeah.
You say there's too many trees in the back. So
No. Yeah, the split rail fence is going to go along the rear of our lots. So that is going to delineate for our customers that that is the property line. That's the purpose of it. It's not to fence the properties in. It's just to give them a visual. May I finish, ma'am? It would be to give them a visual barrier as to where their property would end.
I understand. I think common sense. My question is on the back, where the walkway is.
right, the one that's the concern.
It's far back from our houses, and people, as it is now, trespass it. And it's going to be worse when you have 200 houses.
Ma'am, we've been asked to place that asphalt path for the benefit of the community, so that there is connectivity down to the school. Now,
Fence wouldn't be logical on the backside of our land.
again, there would be significant expense in clearing that area to try to get the fence in some type of straight fashion.
So it can't just come on the inside of the tree, fairly straight line. I don't know where your path is, how far your path is off our property line.
Well, I'm saying, I can't decide that now because we're not
That's something
walking
to look
that.
at.
We can certainly look at that. Absolutely.
That would be fantastic.
Otherwise, we're gonna have.
Okay. Any other discussions on the gallery at the moment? If not, we'll move this over to the discussion with the planning and zoning committee. I would like to say a few things. I spoke with Martino and this one several times. I've had a lot of questions. I don't do anything on the quick and easy. I research everything. I'm scared to death that 20 years down the road, I'm going to be accused of the guy that threw in Baltimore. Okay. So I don't take this lightly. One of my concerns that we discussed was rental properties. That was brought up earlier. Baltimore has a lot of rentals as it is. What I would like to see in the HOA bylaws, I guess you could call it, would be if Mayor Ellis decides to buy a house out there and he moves in 2 years, wants to bring his son to the house, that's fine. I'm concerned about corporate rentals, where a company comes in and owns 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 homes. You know, the fact of the matter is, owner-occupied properties are better taken care of than rental properties. That's the bottom line. So the more owner-occupied you have, the better off our community is. So I really recommend, this is my thought, that be involved in the, I don't know, it would be a deed restriction or a homeowner association restriction, but I feel very strongly about that. I really would like to see at least a second exit from the property. But I've driven through there several times, and really where the entrance is planned, Boulevard entrance, is about where the Coey property is, I believe. That is the high spot. That is the best entrance and exit as far as viewing to be able to get in and out of that property. So I looked, it's not my property, but I still drove by and looked at going on north of that. And you don't have the good line of sight to come out of that. Again, I'd like to see 2, but that might be the best way for it to be. I am concerned about construction traffic routing. Balls are road through the village. That is tight getting through that. And we discussed this. That'd be something that I think have to coordinate with law enforcement to where they kind of block off traffic to be able to get low boys and land dogs up through there, because I can see that being an issue.
Well, it can also come from Easy Road and up that way too. It doesn't have to necessarily come down Boston Road. That's
right. But I'm more concerned about construction traffic than homeowners, quite honestly. I was very, very concerned about the lot widths, and I really believe Representative Hortons have really done their due diligence and really tried to come up with something that'll work for the village.
Where we started in January and where we are at now is 2 separate places.
Yeah.
And anybody that's been involved, we started this the beginning of January, and as far as concessions go, I'm glad they're still here. Like yourself, I know you. I don't want to be the guy that brings 180 houses to Baltimore and have it blow up on us. I feel like the communication. I feel like the give that they've given. The fact that Mr. Thompson's here, that owns the property and is a resident and owns a company. The fact that he's here speaking for them, to me, speaks volumes as well. I mean, that guy, they pour concrete all over the state of Ohio and probably other states. I just, You know, I think some people thought, as the mayor, when I became mayor, I thought I was gonna pave streets and fix sidewalks. This development stuff was the last thing on my mind. And now it's the biggest thing that I contend with on a daily basis. My personal opinion is they jumped over every hurdle we've stuck for them. They've jumped over, and every concession that we've asked them to make, they've made, and they went above and beyond a couple of times. And that's really, I guess that's really all I got to say about it.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I asked more questions earlier.
I would like to know a little bit more about the open space, like what will that consist of? Is that going to be just grass that's mowed, or are there trees? I'm just trying to visually.
Sure. As you look at the open space on the plan, working from, let's say, west to east, that first area is the stream corridor. And that will be maintained on the perimeter of that area and maintained by the HOA. Those other pond areas, along Basel Road, the entry feature, all of the open spaces in and around the ponds will be maintained by the HOA, likely on a weekly basis, with roughly 28 to 32 applications a year. So start the applications in late March, early April, conclude the applications sometime in late November. What I mean by the applications, whether that be spraying, mowing, weeding, flowers, those types of applications, irrigation. Now, particularly in the open space in what I'm calling section 2, which is the park area with the tot lot, that too would be maintained on a weekly basis. Areas that are not going to be maintained on a weekly basis, what we do is we call picture framing with the mowing. So as you're moving to the east, maybe up around lots 31 and coming all the way down to lot 49, those areas may be mowed 8 to 10 feet off of the property line. And then from there, it would go to some type of prairie grass. And then if we go tree line, we would just leave it natural. Yes.
Any other discussion?
Just being awake nights and have discussions with people in and out of this community. And, you know, I feel like I've come to a different place on it every single day for the last week. So, you know, I've looked at data, I've looked at about builders on the whole. Like, you know, I'm very conflicted. I'm pleased that I haven't heard any support for the Baltimore area to become the next Pickerington or Violet Township or Canal Winchester. In fact, I've heard a lot of affirmative comments to the contrary, with clarity and force. And I know that our country lacks sufficient affordable housing, and that Baltimore likely would find some benefit from some modest residential growth. I also am looking at the infusion of human capital, something that Jim Rattle mentioned. You know, that's not a small thing. My son is an historian south of Chicago, at the end of the Chicago train line. And a few miles from his campus is an agricultural community that is about Baltimore's size. And this town, which is named Mooney, is near the Indiana border. It's about 30 miles north of Kankakee. And in the 1980s, Mooney rejected housing developments, fearing change to the rural nature of that community. And this town later came to regret that decision as it watched nearby areas benefit. And about 15 years ago, they ended up approving 4 housing developments. The person who runs the local historical society there communicated to my son 2 main observations. One was that the addition of young families has been a real positive in the community. And the second one was do only one development at a time. So I was just trying to get somebody's perspective from a similar community somewhere. over time. Does it work out? And in this case, it seems that it did. So the other concern that I have, you know, might want to use the search and replace function on your declarations, your covenants, because the village of Lycopolis is mentioned in there at least twice instead of the village of Baltimore. I know it would not be my cup of tea to live in a place where I could hang my laundry out to dry, because I find that to be a relaxing and satisfying activity for me. But I understand, as if somebody who's involved in real estate pointed out to me, that the exhaustive restrictions are intended to prevent the development from ending up looking like a Blackwood Estates over time. You know, while it may strike me as a soulless sort of place, it probably won't look like a dump from street level 30 years from now. So I get it. I understand why there are so many restrictions. Limitations to your liberty on the river. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. I guess if there's no more discussion, we can put.
I know the public speaking is over there, and I have to ask a very important question I have to ask.
Sure, no, it's important questions I'm open for.
She mentioned it's not turning into Pickering. And I don't know how many, I was actually going to call you, Rick, about this because I sincerely don't know what to do. Next door to us where the Cody's are, I don't know what's going to happen with their property, but there's currently like a trailer park.
That will be gone.
Of drug addicts. 2 weeks ago, in the top of my driveway, there was a guy and a girl in the back seat with a kid. She later on ended up getting arrested for possession, child abuse. I called the sheriff and this happened quite a bit, and they walk back and forth and they go to the police. And I guess my question is nothing is or has been being done about that. Well, what are we going to do to sustain peace? Like if riffraff, like the kids are stealing cars down 204 at AutoZone and BP and stuff, those families end up coming out this way. That is.
Well, we can't control people to buy the houses, but yeah, but we're going to roll the dice on anything. I mean, for one, it's $375,000 house, so that's the big thing. They'll
buy a house and rent to family members and live.
Yeah, I don't look for it to be that way. And if I thought it would be that way, I certainly wouldn't be in favor of it. But part of your plan is to buy the Cody property, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's all gonna go away.
Well, until then, I'm hoping. I know it's outside of this, but until then.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. Well, that's being worked on. That we had a meeting, the chief and I. That's being worked on. That's a separate issue, but that's being worked on. Yes, it is. I got you. One call to me, and I will always call you back. It's okay. I'm just saying, but that is being addressed.
I sit on my front porch in like the country and I watch.
I got you. I understand.
No, that's not acceptable anywhere.
No.
It's not. And it's scary. I see a lot of people. It's scary. It just makes me wonder because my sister lives down 204, and how many times they live in the housing development right behind Giant Eagle, and how many times they've chased off kids selling drugs in front of their house. And I worry about that down 204 coming this way. And that I hope that there is zero tolerance.
Well, there will be. We've obtained drug dogs and everything else in the last few months. So we're trying to upgrade that. So if nothing else, let's get to it.
Well, you know, I voiced my concern as far as Mr. Martino. Is this something that would have to be put in? We have to agree to put this in the HOA as far as for no corporate rentals. Is this something that
I don't know that you can put that in.
Well, for me, this is pretty important. Okay. I'm just concerned about, you know, Baltimore has a lot of rentals as it is. And the more owner occupied we have, the better the community.
Well, I know what we can commit to, we D.R. Horton can commit to is that there would be no sales to investor sales.
Okay.
And again,
I mean, we do start to run into their housing laws at some point.
That's what I'm saying. You can't, I don't think you can.
but as far as us, no hoteling, no Airbnb,
Yeah.
and no investor sales, or when I say no, yes, investment sales to any type of corporation, we can commit to that.
Okay.
Now, when I say corporation, oftentimes you see today couples will buy homes in trust, but that's not a corporation.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I don't know how you would language it to where you separate corporate investors from mom and pop who have 2 rental properties for retirement income. And
we would know that very, very quickly through the loan process.
Okay. So that, again, I've had several discussions with Representative Perkins, and I've had a lot of concerns. I'm surprised they haven't been mad at me, quite honestly.
If I can say one thing, right, you put these guys through the test and they're right. We don't want to lose them. I mean, that's another reason I came here, because they're great. You don't necessarily make a lot of money. I've done developments. I couldn't even make money on this development.
Are your
It's not
hands
what you
tied
think. It's not all.
on being able to do anything that when you see that loan that you said you see?
Yes, it would be rejected.
It would be rejected.
Yes, and the contract would be terminated because we're only selling to owner occupied units. Yeah.
I actually approached them to bring them here because I thought they'd be a great builder. We need to do that. And I'm tied in, like you said, with all the.
I know you are. I know you are, Mr. Thompson. I know.
And I live here. I live in these communities. I'm at 6 minutes in my house.
Well,
I'm prepared.
are everybody prepared to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're doing a roll call vote.
Yes or no?
So, what we're voting on is approval of the current plan for Liberty Ridge site plan for a total of 180 homes, 116 of the 50-foot wide lots, 64 of the 40-foot wide lots. This is from the site plan dated September 9th, 2024. I should make sure we're dotting all our I's and crossing all our T's. Eric?
I will amend the text to reflect whatever you agree to before we move to council. We'll update that and we'll fix the reference in the future.
Yep.
Thanks.
So everybody knows the site plan we're looking at. Okay, this is a newly revised site plan. So if everybody's prepared to make a vote on it, let's get to it. Mayor Ellis?
I am a yes.
Mr. Curry?
Yes.
Mr. Doctor?
Yes.
Ms. Litz?
Yes.
Mulder? Yes. Unanimously, we approve it to move this on to council. So the former planning and zoning commission recommends this to go to the council as discussed at this meeting. Okay.
Next meeting will be when? Well, new business. New business.
Yep. So
Yes.
is there anything else on old business? Okay, so we have new business for discussion on, I'm sorry.
I might have some old business.
Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
To do with zoning. Actually, Alex would be is our new business.
Okay.
Yes, he's still on.
No.
My name's Alex Sanovica. I live on Booker Church Road, but I own 323 and 325 Eastman Road. Owned it since 2011. Property's up. I've had the same tenants in there since 2011. No problem.
So that whole deal is rentals?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
new roof, new furnace there, new windows, everything's new. Like I said, I've had great tenants in there. I just put the property up for sale, and we come to find out that it went from conforming to non-conforming since your rezoning. That just cost me a deal. I had a contract sold, and now nobody owns money on the property. I don't even know if I can insure it.
Well, the state, I don't when we changed them.
Did change the zone.
What was
Went from conforming to non-conforming.
What was the zoning prior to that?
This is the first time hearing about this. I'm in this 2 days now. So, you know, I don't know. I received a letter from Sherry Looney, was the other gentleman's realtor. And I guess the wording in the code, the city code, is that if any more than 50% burns down, it gets tore down and it has to be rebuilt as a single story or a single family dwelling. So basically the wording in the code is what's kind of holding everything up from itself. Nobody's going to loan any money on it.
Yeah, we have to.
They don't know how to rebuild it.
Yeah, and we have to figure out a way to change this.
Right. Oh, I didn't talk to Sherry directly, but I guess there was some discussion about Lancaster's policy. You have 6 months in order, if something would happen and it burns down, you have 6 months in order to get plans approved, and you have 2 years order to rebuild. I mean, that's fair. Seems like you guys don't want any more rental properties in your area, and I get that, but
that's been a rental for a long time.
Very clear of my property.
I think it was that, sorry, I think it was one of the issues was that it came to us like the day or something before.
Yeah,
it was the immediacy of the whole, what was needing to happen.
Right.
And we literally didn't have time to
By
take
law,
care of that.
Yeah, I'm in a position now that I actually need this money because I have a lot of bills and medical issues, and I can't get rid of this property. Not only that, it's just devalued the way it sits right now, and I'm in limbo, waiting. I don't know what to do. So
because that was brought up.
I need a judge.
Can we have order in the gallery, please?
Hey guys,
Can we have order in the gallery, please?
We're still in session.
We're conducting business.
I know that happened. That was brought up at council because I sit over there, so I can remember it being brought up in council.
Right.
And I think it was like, wow, we need more time. We have to do something about that and look at the ordinances already in place and how the zoning. And so we just caught off guard.
Yeah, in 2011, evidently the zoning wasn't like that. If it burned down, it was able to be rebuilt as a double. Correct. I didn't know that. You know, I mean, how could I? I mean, it wasn't changed until 2017. Secondly, shouldn't I have been notified that that ordinance was changed?
Well, I can address that somewhat. I was on this board when we updated the zone. And I don't believe we actually changed the wording on that wrong. Now, it might not have been interpreted at that time.
Okay.
But
and I couldn't tell one way or another.
I don't believe any wording was changed. And I am real certain we did not change the zoning of that property.
No, it has been rezoned. It went changed to an R3.
Okay.
So, which R3 means single
unit.
But the doubles are out. They're considered non-conforming. They're not conforming to the charter.
I'm sorry.
71.
Okay. I believe that was built before. Well, Jim, you can tell me. Well, when did zoning come into effect here?
1960 is when zoning took effect.
Okay, so I've been built after that then. So I can't speak on that. I thought that was actually built back in the 60s.
I think it was built in 71. I thought it was. Pretty sure it was, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I thought that was possibly built before the zoning.
I guess my question is this something that the zoning committee is willing to take up and consider changing the wordage?
I mean, I'm sorry that it's this way. I'm sorry that you.
Yeah, all of us felt like, yes, it was something that needs to be.
Yeah.
The lender was here and everything, and it had to be done in a day. And we couldn't do it without coming to this first and changing it.
I honestly don't want to get rid of the property. But
it's okay.
You know, I worked for Columbus Division Fire for 26 years. And I've had cancer and a lot of different surgeries, and I had to leave.
Listen, you don't have to explain it.
So, you know,
this is something we need to change.
Yeah, right.
But I think everybody on council was just like, wait.
Yeah. I think it was the loan company in my
Yeah,
opinion. They're the ones that kind of put the kibosh.
Yeah, they said.
So, and then we were like, oh, you can't
I
do this
recently
by
talked to
tomorrow.
some insurers and they said if knowing that, they won't insure the property.
we couldn't do it in a day because.
No, I get that.
And that was here.
Yes, and I remember all of us went, oh, well.
So I guess that would be something for a later meeting, for the next meeting. We got to figure out the rewording of it.
I think since we have the facts, maybe we need to do some research. I don't think it's something they can rule on tonight. Is it a problem for you if we have to take this for a month?
But yeah, table it for a month costing me thousands of dollars because I'm carrying all the bills on one side, property taxes, insurance. I don't have the money in the bank. I need the money for my bills.
So you don't have any renters in it. They're all right now.
On one side, but I told my other renters of 13 years, or they're an older couple, and they're like, "Hey, we're out of here." Because they knew rent, so I only charge them $600 a month aside. So I'm the cheapest guy in town, just because I had great people in there, and I don't like to rock the boat. You know, they took care of my property. I take care of them, and man, no problems. You know,
we other than council, which was just presented to us 2 weeks ago, the zoning is who has to change this.
Yeah, was our solicitor, was he drawing something up?
Our solicitor is trying to draw something up. He's on vacation this week to try to change the wording of this.
Just to drop the percentage amount, like we.
yeah. I mean, if you could take that off there, we're in. You know, or whatever it may be.
And that's something I would tell you to call Matthew, but our solicitor won't be back until Monday.
So Alex came in and visited, and we'd already had this on the books to talk about tonight. And we spoke, and I did email Mr. Fico after our last council meeting, or when we talked about this, and asked him if he would draft up, if he would make a draft dropping the 50%. And he just never got back to me because I think
he was going on
vacation right away.
I would say we'd have a better answer for you on this whole thing on Monday when the solicitor.
Okay, I do have one more question. Why was that little area rezoned? It makes like a little block.
I really don't think it was, because I'll tell you, I know personally, I despise spot zoning. I don't like having R3 with one little whatever.
Yeah, right. But isn't that what that little block on the map in there?
Well, that little area of neighborhoods is all considered.
Oh, it's all considered one. Okay.
Right. It's not just
yours. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I saw one area. It was like buildings.
Like you're right here.
Yeah.
You're right here. This is all R3.
All right.
But understand, when we talked about it at council, we were just like, what do you mean? Because if we could have done it that night, we would have done it that night. We couldn't.
Yeah, I understand that.
Redo it, but with the solicitor, I think this is a better question for our attorney than it is for us, how we can change it.
Since we only meet once a month, is this a situation that if we needed to meet
sooner? Yes.
I don't know who would be in favor of that. I'm generally sometimes available if I'm not upstairs.
Well, we'll figure that. Listen, I have a better answer. I don't want to misquote.
Yeah.
Well, it's something I can tell my realtor and say, hey, they're trying to work on this situation.
Yeah, 100%. You tell them that we want
to get a deal.
Yes, yes.
Done again, because like I said, I was 2 months on one deal, and
I got you.
We got to figure out how we want to word it. Whether we want to word it as giving you
ample time on
90 days, 6 months, whatever, to commence with
permits,
repair, or reconstruction, or whatever. Yeah, I remember this came before planning and zoning, and I'm gonna say 8-10 years ago anyway. On Jim, you were on at that time. Someone had a property in downtown mixed use area and had the same concern. And I think we addressed at that time was, we didn't change the wording on it. It just basically said, come down to it, come after a variance, and if it's common sense, we'll approve it. Now, that doesn't go very far with the lender. I understand.
Yeah, right.
It is common sense.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. Yeah,
common sense should prevail.
And we're working in your favor.
But,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I actually would not rezone that property. I just do not like spot zoning.
Right.
But I would not be against putting a X amount of days to go in and rebuild that property.
Yes.
I'd be open to a suggestion like that.
Lancaster had a great And I think I spoke upon that, like 6 months and then the X amount of time in order to, and I find that fair, you know, I mean, you have to give somebody at least an opportunity, right, to rebuild, I would imagine, instead of changing the whole deal on.
Right. I mean,
We're gonna get a hold of we'll get a hold of Jeff, the solicitor, to see how we can word it. And I'll get with Kenny. We have to meet again on a special,
I would appreciate that. I mean, just to get some wording, it don't even have to be.
I got you, so you can say something to your realtor.
Yeah.
I would like to
find out what, I'm sorry.
I would like to make an official motion to send this to council so we can directly address this.
And that'll be next week.
Yes, so, no, 24.
Yeah, not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. But we'll get a hold of the attorney. Once he talks to the attorney on Monday or Tuesday, Mr. Faco, we'll have a better definitive answer for you. But if you, as far as talking to your realtor, I would say it looks like, I mean, because we want, that's common sense.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everything's on the up and up and we get, you know, something done and all of a sudden people come back and we're all,
Yeah, but I'm sorry that happened. When we were, again, I wasn't here when that, most of us weren't here when that was here. So.
I understand that. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no, we need to figure this out. Yeah, so we can make it happen for you. No problem.
Oh, do we need to vote on that motion?
Well, what is the motion?
To send it to council.
To send this to council for discussing the, I don't know how to word it. Because we are trying to, considering of
dropping the percentage.
Dropping the percentage amount on the R3 below 50%. Is that correct?
Dropping the percentage amount in favor of the time amount.
Here's the way it reads out. Would you like to see that?
Okay. I've already read it.
Oh, okay. Would anybody else have another copy?
No, I have
That.
a copy too.
Yes. Please.
It might be a little sketchy.
You worded that very well, so.
Dropping the percentage amount in favor of time amount.
Well, actually, this is my thought, okay? Again, this is just for discussion. I would say not to drop the percentage amount, but just add the time to where if it's more than 6 months or whatever, and more than 50% damage, then it goes back to original zone. That'd be my thought.
Yeah, if they don't attempt to.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, but if you drop 50%, then you don't need to have the time.
Got it.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Right. I think that's what the banks look at though, right? The insurance and the banks with that.
So
they do look at the percentage of damage.
I'm just saying.
I mean, that was my understanding when they came in and spoke. So
yeah, the vendor said that they would percentage.
Okay.
Because we had the
so that's key.
Yeah.
I thought that was the main issue.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I would rather have both of those in there stipulated. But we can also discuss it. It's up for discussion. When we take it to council, then we discuss it.
And then we'll have a better idea once we talk to the attorney.
Yeah.
I'll be
honest. All of us were like,
that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I would really like to see what Jeff recommends before we send it to council.
Yep.
That's my opinion, but
well, we'll have that figured out Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
You withdraw the motion.
Yeah.
Yes, please. So, and we'll wait to be updated.
By the attorney.
Correct.
Yes.
Via email, because we don't meet for a month.
Right. But we'll address this before that.
I really do appreciate you guys' time.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
You want me to get a hold of you, Matt? Or?
Yeah, we can just stay in contact.
There
Give me a call beginning of next week sometime.
All right, cool. Thanks again for all your help. I appreciate it.
Any other new business for planning and zoning? Any discussion on anything at all? If not, our next scheduled meeting is October 10th, 7 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel, right?
Yes, sir.
I guess I entertain a call for adjournment.
Second. Okay.
At 8:44. Aye. Okay, we'll call this meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on over, Jack. Have a seat.
Do you want a hug?
No, I appreciate you.
I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I feel like.
Rick, hold on one second.
Oh, man, I